So Director Tenet, George Tenet, met with President Musharraf at the Waldorf Astoria, and I guess that was in the year 2003, during the UN General Assembly, and he got a private audience with President Musharraf and told Musharraf that Dr. Khan was betraying Pakistan's nuclear secrets to at least the Libyans and maybe others. And Musharraf's initial comment was, "I'm going to kill that son of a bitch." Musharraf and Khan did not get along. And in fact, Musharraf perceived Khan as a potential rival because, as I said earlier in the program, Khan was incredibly popular among the Pakistani people. Well, Director Tenet said, "No, we don't want you to kill him." But then he put him under house arrest for the next 5 years, Musharraf did. But there was no love lost between Musharraf and Khan. We were very slow. Admittedly, we were very slow. There were some people, I believe you've had Mr. Barlow on the program, and he recognized it from an early point. I am not an analyst. I'm an operations officer. And I was aware of Dr. Khan's activities, but none of us thought it was that serious. We thought, okay, clearly it's serious that he is supplying Pakistan with a nuclear weapons capability, and absolutely he did that. So we have to give him whatever credit you want to give him. You give him credit for that. What we did not imagine was that instead of domestic needs for certain high technologies, he was going to turn around and become an outward proliferator, meaning he was going to supply nuclear technology to other countries. And this was without Pakistan's leadership's blessings. We found that out later. But we became aware when we saw that, that Khan Research Lab, that Dr. Khan was in touch with certain foreign entities. And I had used a number of our officers to basically penetrate the network and find out that these people, this is not inward proliferation to Pakistan. This is outward proliferation to other countries. In fact, it turned out to be a whole host of countries, and I nicknamed Dr. Khan the Merchant of Death.
Right.
So that's when we started, focusing. He was not exactly the most brilliant nuclear scientist. He was smart. What he was brilliant at was networking. And okay, so he did several things that were really smart. Number one, his procurement agents in Europe were not Pakistanis. They were Europeans. So therefore, the counterintelligence profile went down a lot. Secondly, I'm convinced, I don't have hard evidence of this, but I'm convinced that he had certain Pakistani generals and leaders on his payroll. Like I said, he was a consummate networker. And he had his own public relations people. And he ran, what do they call Khan Research Lab? Khan Research Lab. It's as if you were Henry Ford II, don't you think that Ford Motor Company would do whatever you wanted and without question? And so he would have these things done without the blessing of President Musharraf or other senior leaders. That would have been too dangerous for them to do. But were there possibly some Pakistani generals and stuff aware of this or turning a blind eye to it? Probably. Absolutely. So in that respect, Ishan, I agree with you. I am firmly convinced, though, this was not an official Pakistani policy to do this. This was Khan and his network, his well-placed network of certain people. One of my best friends, Rolf Moat Larsen, was head of the CIA's Counterterrorist Center's Weapons of Mass Destruction Department. And Director George Tenet, CIA Director George Tenet, knew that Rolf and I were close friends, best friends. And so he said, I want to make sure that you both have complete transparency into each other's operations to make sure that Dr. Khan or other folks in Pakistan are not supplying these to Osama bin Laden. And so we did that, and we found no evidence that was going on. But we were concerned about it, sure. That was the nightmare scenario. What if Al-Qaeda or some Al-Qaeda supporters gets a nuclear weapon? But it turned out, no, Khan may have done some extremely stupid or irrational things, but that wasn't one of them.
And the Pakistani generals would play ball with you people and tell you about their nuclear weapons, their positions, and everything at the time?
Up to an extent. I mean, when the way this came to a head was after we had absolutely incontrovertible evidence of what was going on. So Director Tenet, George Tenet, met with President Musharraf at the Waldorf Astoria, and I guess that was in the year 2003, during the UN General Assembly, and he got a private audience with President Musharraf and told Musharraf that Dr. Khan was betraying Pakistan's nuclear secrets to at least the Libyans and maybe others. And Musharraf's initial comment was, "I'm going to kill that son of a bitch." Musharraf and Khan did not get along. And in fact, Musharraf perceived Khan as a potential rival because, as I said earlier in the program, Khan was incredibly popular among the Pakistani people. Well, Director Tenet said, "No, we don't want you to kill him." But then he put him under house arrest for the next 5 years, Musharraf did. But there was no love lost between Musharraf and Khan. I'm pretty sure that the Iranians got the weapons plan. You know, the plans for the weapon. Basically, he betrayed Pakistani's nuclear weapons program, and that was the PAB-1, the Pakistani Atomic Bomb 1, which was based on the Chinese Chick-4.
Yes.
Which had been tested in 1964, I believe. And so it was a proven design. We had no doubt that this would work. It would work. And then, of course, the Pakistanis tested it in, was 98, I think?
Yes. Well, they had it before then.
Yeah, right. They had it well before then.
Yeah.
But they tested. So we knew this thing was going to work. And this was the same yield, like I said, 15 kilotons as Little Boy. Now, the Iranians are smart people, and I assume they've gone past that in their design capabilities. I mean, you know, we forget sometimes that the Persian people invented whole fields of mathematics, and these are not backward people. They're very sophisticated people. So it frightens me. People sometimes ask me how concerned I am about the Iranian nuclear weapons program. And I say, okay, my biggest concern is not so much the threat that Iran presents to Israel, because the Iranians are not stupid. They know that the Israelis probably have 150 nuclear weapons and would wipe Iran off the map if the mullahs decided to use it. What I'm concerned about is the nuclear pandemic this would set off in the Middle East when suddenly the Emiratis, the Saudis, the Egyptians, the Turks, and everybody in the region would think, if the Iranians have a nuclear weapon, so do we. And if you have that many countries in an unstable area like the Middle East, which frankly we know, we've seen this. Look what happened in Gaza. Look, all this stuff going on. I am convinced that the chances of either an accidental or an intentional use of nuclear weapons would go up logarithmically. It would be a nightmare for the entire planet. And it's not going to be just local. It's going to be massive nuclear contamination. It's going to be a disaster for the world economy, and it's going to be a humanitarian disaster. So I'm much more concerned about that pandemic, that nuclear pandemic that Iran will set off.